And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com. You know the deal. Visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get to the app. They will come right to your front door and drop off the Galactic goodness pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or stop down, visit our friends in Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15%. All right, Aaron, we're back at it. We're in everything. See, like there's so much crap every day that's just raining down from the sky in college athletics, because in some ways college athletics has kind of jumped the shark. They can't win in court. That's been made very clear. This is really what we're about to talk about, is really why I wanted to get into this conversation with Dustin Grutza last night, because he has a lot of ideas and opinions about where this is all headed. And where it's all headed gained a lot of steam today as USC and the Pac-12 and the NCAA are kind of in the crosshairs on a case that was brought to the courts in 2022. And essentially, we are getting closer and closer to a point where athletes are going to be considered employees of universities, and that's going to allow them to unionize, and that's going to create labor
chaos.
Negotiations. No, it's not going to. Aaron, you love the NFL.
I do.
Right? You do. Is the NFL chaos because there are owners and a players' union?
So the NFL is not chaos because you only have 32 people. Those 32 people are working towards the same goal and they have the commissioner to throw under the bus.
Okay.
Yeah. They're working towards the same goal of making. They're all working towards the same goal of making money. That's it.
Do you think colleges aren't doing the same?
Yeah, but
they don't want the players with their hand in the cookie jar. They've been doing that for 100 years.
I know. That's why this is going to be a. Plus, you have 100 and some odd, whatever number we're at for D1.
136 or something. D1 football schools. 340 roughly college basketball schools. D1.
And that's not even including D2, D3, JUCO, all of that.
I don't know that D2, D3, and JUCO are going to be able to be a part of whatever legislation happens, because there's no money generated there, and there never will be.
If it's the NCAA that's getting hit with this lawsuit, though, and it falls under the umbrella of the NCAA, I would imagine that
there's different levels.
It would still include everybody under the umbrella of the NCAA. In any case,
not necessarily.
So what they're alleging, though, is just the fact that these players have been employees at USC. USC being a private school, not a public school, so it is kind of potentially a loophole that may be the only thing that saves this thing from being blown all the way up. But I think we're just kicking the can down the road, as it were, if you do not recognize these students as employees of the school. I think that this is going to a place where you want to make sure that these kids are insured when a kid gets injured and they have nowhere to turn. They're lucky if the school honors their 4-year commitment to the student. If they do get injured,
scholarships are 1 year.
Right. And that's messy when a kid gets injured and they have, well, you can't play here anymore, even though you gave your body up for us. And see ya.
Yeah, that's why you need
a union,
a representative, a labor board,
When I say it's getting messy, I don't want it to be misconstrued that I'm against the players getting what they deserve in all of this. I think it's far, far well beyond the finish line of where they should have already had this stuff decades ago.
Right. So when colleges started, so it was
I will just want to
for a
finish this
long
thought.
time.
I just want to finish this thought of what I think is messy is the fact that you're going to have all of these universities going down, kicking and screaming, and it's going to get ugly and it's going to get messy. They're going to
Oh,
try
they're
and
going to
find
throw players
loopholes.
under the bus.
There's
Yeah,
going to
for
be,
sure.
I would imagine it's going to go through all sorts of appeals until it gets to the Supreme Court to make a decision. And I think that just because we're here now doesn't mean that we're anywhere near the end of all of this, even if a decision is made in the year 2023 and all of it. That's what I mean when I say it's going to be messy. It's not going to be clean. Here's our decision, done and done. Now everyone has to abide by it.
Well, again, this was all made very clear when the O'Bannon case went to the Supreme Court and lost unanimously. That court, politics aside, doesn't agree unanimously on anything.
No.
Anything. The NCAA was put on notice at that point that from here forward, any legal thing, you're swimming upstream, and you're probably going to drown. We're probably going to be holding your head under the water while it
after
happens.
100 years of you getting to do whatever you wanted.
Right. So, like, and this is what I was going to get to a minute ago. When it was ticket sales were like, that was the be all and all. Why do you think a lot of these power programs have the stadiums grew to 100,000?
Literally 100.
Literally 100,000. Because the ticket sales were where all the money was at.
Because if you tried to watch it on a box TV, you got to see a granular man catching a granular ball.
And TV networks weren't able to charge for advertising what they're able to charge now.
You also weren't able to watch every game at the click of a button.
So there were just 4 games you could watch on a Saturday,
and Notre Dame was always one of them.
Right. So you get into this world where some of it made sense for a while because there really wasn't, especially when you're talking about funding everything. When you're talking about, okay, the football program has to be responsible for funding lacrosse and swimming and soccer and all the Olympic sports, like that entire umbrella. Football and basketball responsible for allowing us to do everything else. So it was, and this is where the rub in college athletics has always been, Aaron. They made sure that they spent every dollar every year because the last thing that they could do to avoid legal ramifications was to have a surplus. Because guess what happens if all these schools start spending wisely and come up with a surplus? Then the players really go, hey, yo,
what are we doing?
So I love when people say, like, well, college athletics departments always operate in the red. They're never in the black. Yeah. By design. Right. By design. And guess, like, that was, I had a similar philosophy or thought process on the pro leagues when COVID hit and everything got shut down and everybody's money got jacked up. Well, there weren't games happening. Like, we had a period of time where there were no games. So there was no TV revenue. There was no ticket sales. Like, everybody's money, their books got jacked up. Well, they're producing all this money year after year after year after year, and they didn't save enough that 1 year didn't destroy everything. Like, if you're to believe Major League Baseball franchises, 1 year, and you might as well just shut that shit. Like, the Reds should have been shut down for 2 years after 2020
Those-
so they can recover.
Those PJs don't pay for themselves, Chad.
It's a lot deeper than that, but we're in an era where you have to spend everything you make, no matter what. You got to spend everything you make, and then
Because you get tax kickbacks and all of that. I mean,
Right.
there's reasons that they're spending as much as they're spending every year.
But that's coming to roost for the NCAA.
Sure.
Because for years and years, they've been spending everything they can at every turn to make sure they don't have $1 in the kitty. And now the courts are going to rule. The players are going to be considered employees. They're going to unionize. They're going to create a players association.
Eventually, yeah.
It's going to happen. It's coming.
I agree.
It's
I agree.
inevitable.
I want you to know that we're on the same side in that regard.
I know.
When I say
I'm just talking it out.
Yeah, when I say it's going to be messy, it's
Oh, they're going to
legitimately
fight. The NCAA is going to
sloppy
fight
messy.
tooth and nail.
correct. They're going to dig their feet in the same.
Yeah.
They're going to dig their feet in the same way they did with the O'Bannon case and come out just bent over, no lube. Why? Because you just didn't move your feet. Like, you could have gotten out ahead of this the same way that you could get out ahead of this right now. But instead, you're just going to, no, we're not doing anything. This is the way it is. And you're going to get bent again.
Right.
As well you should.
That's the crazy thing to me is they should have known before the O'Bannon case, there's no way legally that the court system was going to say, you're allowed to use their name, image, and likeness and not pay them.
When you've been on top for that long, though, you never expect the bottom to fall out from under you.
That's
I
just
would
bad
think
legal. They got bad legal advice. Or they
Sure.
got good legal advice and said, you're fired. We're not, get out. We don't,
Maybe.
you're not in the room.
Maybe.
Get out.
But I
just don't know how
again,
you didn't realize it was coming.
Again, you have an opportunity right now as this is all going through the courts and go through the appeals processes and all of that to get out ahead of this by setting up a plan. When the last one happened, they didn't have a plan set up.
No interest in a plan. They knew they should have a plan and said, we're not losing.
And if you think
we're going to win.
If you think for a sec,
they got swept like in epic fashion.
like the Reds at home after being up.
Whatever.
Just saying.
But yeah, like the Oakland days in 1990.
I was going with the San Francisco Giants with back.
I know.
Not
I'm
even
a happier person than you.
Yeah, well. If you think for a second, though, that this transfer portal stuff isn't going to work out in the players' benefit.
I mean, there's already players. I mean, there's rumors that Hunter Dickinson got $4 million to go to Kansas. Even if it's wrong and he got half, $2 million.
No. What I'm saying is you're not going to have to worry about the NCAA changing its mind or am I going to be eligible? Am I not going to be eligible? It's going to be in black and white. And they're not going to have these bullshit. I don't know what I'm doing in the transfer portal. Is the guy I'm going to get going to be able to play here next year or not? I don't know. What about two of them? I don't know. We don't know. We're rolling the dice. We'll see what happens. You're not going to have that anymore. And that's going, again, to just be in the benefit of the players and the teams for that matter. But you're also not going to be in a place where you see finding somebody who stays with a program for 4 years as he elevates will be a more and more rare thing.
That's always going to depend on the coach.
Much like professional sports,
personally.
How often do you see professional athletes stay their entirety of their careers?
Well, I mean, I guess that becomes ultimately if there's a players association and there's a commissioner, because and then are you required when you sign on that dotted line to be committed to that school for 2 years or 3 years? Like free agency.
That's where it's going to be. And
it's going to be collectively bargained.
I will be even more surprised as we kick this can down the road if you continue to see a draft. I don't
know how that would work.
But as you start empowering players at this level, telling them that they have to go play somewhere for 5 years of the first 5 years of their career before they actually get to go, or in baseball, it's even worse. before they actually get to go choose where they're
Yeah,
going to
but
play.
in the system, like the system college has now is actually set up right because they get to choose.
Correct.
They don't get drafted.
That's my whole point. And that's
I don't think teams would want a draft in college. There's too many.
I'm not we're talking different. I'm saying when they get to the pro level after being in college and you're telling them they have to be drafted now? Nah. Nope.
Yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with the pros.
I'm just saying. I think that you're going to start seeing some different things happening where you're not going to have
those leagues are already collectively bargained and already way far away from a free agent, an instant free agency system. That'll never happen in the pros.
If you give a mouse a cookie,
then the mouse eats the cookie and gets sick because there's chocolate in it.
He'll
and
probably ask. He'll probably ask for a glass of milk.
You got
it's a book,
that can
Chad.
Talk up there
it's a book, Chad.
You got mice that can talk up there in Athens?
Only in my pocket.
We might be back tomorrow night. I'm on the road for volleyball over the weekend, so we'll see you when we see you. That's the night.
By the way,
brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken.
I was wrong. NCAA football does not come out until next year.
Yeah, I thought I was right on that. I looked at you kind of cross-eyed. I was like,
that's fine.
Whatever. We'll see you tomorrow night. BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!